Is a 1-star Timur actually better than a 3 or 5-star Guan Yu? It is a big, massive question. A lot of you guys in the Age of Empires mobile community have been asking me on my videos, in game, on Discord. So I thought, why not obviously test this out on the Pioneer server so we can actually get some decent results on what is going to be better. And on top of it, obviously answer the age-old question. So smash like, comment, and subscribe. And before we dive into obviously the great old testing and obviously the whole jabang, let me just explain the differences of these matches so everyone is on the same page, because the Timur is going to be a support just like your Guan Yu. They do the job a little bit differently for Lu Bu. So when you look at Timur, he's all about reducing the damage you actually take of your march. The first time you can read this first skill is reducing basically your troop damage taken by 15% for the first 9 seconds, and he increases his own damage by 40%. But when you have him in the second command, you'll get an additional 15% on this, and this effect does decay by 1/3 every 3 seconds, and that is with a 3-star Timur or a 1-star Timur. When you 5-star him, this will upgrade to 1/4, which is 25% instead, which is a lot easier to digest. But you also have Tempered Steel. This is again whenever your Lu Bu, Timur, or Attila crit in the march, you're going to add up some extra recovery to the march, but you're also reducing that troop damage taken. And again, when you max this skill out, it is quite powerful. It is a 5% reduction with 105% extra troops. It's not massive on the troops. It's more about the 5% reduction on that, right? So you can see Timur is all about trying to make Lu Bu survive. And if he can survive and have a higher troop count, he's going to deal more damage. That's the whole premise of our boy here. When we look at Guan Yu, it's kind of the opposite. He's more of like a glass cannony build. So what he wants to do is try to critical strike in the early phase, especially as a 3-star hero and above, and take advantage of this might additional gain he has with Berserker, which is going to give you even more might when you crit. Or if you run down the Fatal Blow, again, all of that might will make this deal even more damage, and this can critically strike too. So you kind of see what Guan Yu's trying to achieve here. He's trying to just be more offensive, and by being offensive, he can support you. Just to give you guys a little disclaimer before we get into this, obviously, testing, we didn't have access to a max Night Wolf ring. And because of that, what we've done instead is run Ring of the Daisy. We're going to be running the Tranquil Water and Lord of the Eastern Heavens for all of the testing. If we had a Night Wolf, it would have been put into the testing too at max level, but obviously Pioneer server didn't give us that luxury, which is a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. So with that, let's get into these tests. And it's going to be very interesting because, like I said, 1-star Timur on Pioneer server, and what you'll notice in the battle report, to try to make things as fair as possible, we are using the exact same builds as we can. The only thing changing, as you'll notice, is going to be basically the configuration of the formation of Steve. So if he is running, like he'll be running in this example, I believe, a Spirited Pursuit build, you're going to see that as a result. The next fight is going to be another build, and again, a different build. So this should give everyone as much information as possible, especially when we click on the right actual report, because this defeat was for infantry testing, which is a spoiler for some future videos coming onto the channel here. But if we look down here, we are running the normal build. As you can see, the weak spot attack Ripper Tiger build for my Lu Bu with the Tempered Steel critical insight, Warriors Hymn critical insight for the Timur and Attila. And if you look on his side, he's tested out the very first configuration, which is obviously increasing the amount of might as you can on obviously the good old Guan Yu. But then he's running Spirited Pursuit and Ripper Tiger just to showcase what this build actually does to you. And as you can see, a 1-star versus 3-star, this does lose, right? So your Timur beats this every time. And we did run more tests after all of this that you'll see. just to kind of confirm it as well. But just for footage and for obviously video reasons, I'm going to be showing you one of the fights on each of them so you can kind of get a good gist. Because as you'll notice, as more of these fights do occur, it already paints quite an alarming picture on here. So when we break down the activations and stuff for the March here, you'll notice even though he is dealing some great damage on his main skill, I'm actually out DPSing him, right, on these other two. And as well, when we go down, you'll notice Timur here is able on both of them skills when we click play to actually increase the critical strike rate and reduce the enemy's armor, as well as you can imagine, healing and reducing the amount of troop damage taken here. So he is going to be activating all of those abilities going off at once, and that is a very massive amount of stats that you're able to put on. So if we move on to the next actual fight gameplay that we recorded here, exactly the same. We're running 50k troops just like before, 515 on the stars, and we're running it into a 3-star Guan Yu. This is going to be just a different build, and again, when we ran multiple tests of this, you'll see it's going to be all the same. Even if you try it yourselves in a vacuum, you got to remember gear and gems does change massively, but everyone's gear and gems can obviously differ depending on what you are running. So if we go into the actual battle report for this, here we go. We've got a 50k versus 50k, and if we break it down now, you'll notice he is running, again, Spirit Pursuit with that Ripper Tiger on his Lu Bu with the same build, and it just gets absolutely demolished, right? Absolutely demolished. That is a 1-star Timur fighting that 3-star Guan Yu. And I know what you're thinking, Sneakyy, this should be right because you're not running the meta build on Lu Bu. Hold your horses, literally hold your horses, donkey, before you get, caught, because we have that to showcase next, don't worry. So the next fight that we've got here for you guys is going to be obviously the actual 3-star Guan Yu with a Lu Bu running weak spot attack and Ripper Tiger. So this is the main meta build that most people already run on their Timur, as well as what they were running in Season 2 majority of the time. But you'll notice again, it's not even close. And again, the more we ran this test, I think Steve might have won one time, and the only time he would win is on, and it's very sad to say this, but it's when he gets the lucky roll, when he gets all the crits and the bang, bang, bang in turn, and then next turn he just goes bang, crit. It's obscene. But when you look at every other example here, and this is with Ripper Tiger, weak spot attack on Steve's Lu Bu, just the same as mine, everything is the same here. You're going to see it actually loses out. The Guan Yu isn't doing enough, even if you're running the exact same rings. And the only thing that could be better in this formation testing video, as some people might point out, is get Nightwolf on that Guan Yu. And I get you. However, in the Pioneer server, we don't get access to a maxed out Nightwolf. So it was just one of them things where we were working with what we had. And this, honestly, it just showcases pretty fairly what the heroes are doing to the March, and not in particular what the rings are doing to the March. Even though Guan Yu and Nightwolf is a massively powerful combo together because of the Might Steroid that you're doing. But when we go into Tranquil Water, Lord and Eastern, this is the results. And again, it is close when you look at the amount of damage that's been done. In this case, our Timur was able to out DPS the Guan Yu. However, if you check out and you do this yourself, more times out of 10, so I'll say like 70% of the time, Guan Yu will out DPS Timur. He will. Only by like 900 points, 500 points, if that. But Timur isn't really wanting to do damage. He wants to reduce damage because of the build that we've got on him, right? So if we move on to the next one, this is when things are starting to get even more interesting. Obviously, 1-star Timur every single fight that you're going to be watching here, because I were going to do some 3-star testing. But if you guys have not kind of seen it, and I know you might be smoking that copium right now, 1-star testing was enough. yes, it was enough. It was enough to go off, because if you went for a 3-star Timur or a 5-star Timur, it is hands down gonna be better than Guan Yu. And I'm telling you that now as a person to person, right? Running a 1-star, 3-star combo, and you can see again with that same thing, it loses. It loses. Like, what the hell? So now, as we can kind of see, a 3-star Guan Yu just isn't beating us. It isn't. It really isn't beating us. So, what about a 5-star Guan Yu, right? What if we run 5-star Guan Yu? He's going to have more base might. He's obviously going to get a more powerful skill because he has that extra enhancement compared to us. So now you're going to think our Timur has 1 enhancement, which is 1 star, compared to the triple enhancement from 1, 3, and 5 of the Guan Yu and the Guan Yu might. And look how brutal that is. It's just that brutal. Literally, like, and you can see here, like, all the different reports, and we've got more above later on, or say when we do more testing, but you can see how actually insane this is. 5-star Guan Yu there. Same build, Meta Lubu build with Ripper Tiger, weak spot attack that most people want to see. And guess what? It gets fucking slapped. And it's not just because I high rolled. Don't worry, I've got 2 more video clips to showcase, to put the nail in the coffin. But there is honestly some actual good thing to take out of this. Some good thing to take out of this. Don't be a negative Andy. There is some actual, you know, optimism or pessimism, I forgot what the correct term is, for this March. But you can see here, prime example, look how much more damage we're doing with our Lubu compared to Steve's Lubu, right? And especially if I hide myself and you see all the activations, we are doing more damage across the board because we are reducing more damage because of our Timur. Our Timur basically really does scale the harder hitting the enemy are, which is really funny, as you can imagine. If you're reducing 30% of like 50k damage, it is a good amount. But if you're reducing 30% of like 100k damage, it's even better. And as you can keep exponentially getting that more damage onto you, the reduction becomes even better and better. And we're going to see this, like I said, in these reports. And this isn't just the first one that I'm really, you know, trying to run it into the ground with. If we check out the second version of this fight, again, I recorded multiple of these. And this is just to showcase 5-star Guan Yu against this Timur in the exact same build. Nothing's changed at all. And you're going to see here, again, even though the Guan Yu is doing really fucking well, look at this. Boom! Boom! And we just come out of nowhere and we beat him. Do I have to say anything else? Do we need to keep playing the evidence? I don't know, but 5-star here is just not even touching the 1-star of our March. And you can see me like getting ready to hit the comparison, going through this, and you'll see again when we go into the stats, 46.5k to 44.5k, very, very close. And like I've been saying in the previous examples, his Guan Yu is doing more damage technically than the Attila. Than the Timur, which we expect it's a 5-star Guan Yu versus a 1. But you gotta remember, this is a 1-star Timur doing this much work. And imagine when you've got a 3-star or a 5-star Timur, he's gonna have all that extra might and all of those extra bonuses on his skills. That just makes Lubu even goddamn better, right? And just to finish it off, like I said, one last time, this is now the final nail, right? Final fight I want to just showcase for today's video before we drag it off any longer for you guys. But obviously, I will give you guys my summary of this whole shenanigans, right? Since some people might have just skipped through. But no matter what we ran, no matter what combinations of the, you know, skills, all of that jazz, 1-star Timur versus 3 or 5-star Guan Yu, Timur came out on top. He really did. He just absolutely dominated you, right? And the thing is, it's good to know that, right? Because if you are, for example, a player running a Guan Yu build and you're beating people with a Timur build, the only reason you're beating these players is either of two factors, and that is because of one, your signet ring is a higher level than theirs, which is fair enough, fair game to you guys. And then as you can imagine, the gear. Maybe you've got level 80 gear with better gems. Maybe you've got red gems over legendary gems. And again, all of those stats make an impact. So maybe once you've got that difference because of those, yeah, Guan Yu could be, Timur. But in a vacuum, if we put everything fair game, everyone's running the same good old stuff, nope, unfortunately, it is always going to be running a Timur. And that is, again, 1-star Timur doing all of that work. And that's why even on my account, I run a 3-star Timur, because 3-star Timur is fantastic. And if you're wondering why, if you go out of the, tutorial menu and we showcase my march, what I'm running currently, because obviously these are just rings. I've got spare at the moment until I find some better ring choices. But I do like the rings I actually have on these marches. It does some really good work at the moment. Maybe I could swap out this one, but it is what it is. But when we look at our Timur here and we go to his stars, you'll notice at 1 star, you can ignore the top half of this text and it wouldn't matter, because the bottom part is the best. Like, for the first 9 seconds, you're reducing the amount of damage you take by an additional 5%. So, like, the fact that you're reducing that additional damage reduction by 5% here is crazy. And then, yes, at the top side, you do also increase the damage boost provided by Annihilation Blade by an additional 10%. Obviously, that does factor in. But at rank 1, if it just said this one little bit of line at the bottom, you'd be happy. That's how good this 1-star is. It's so fantastic on you, and you're not even getting that much might. It's +2 might for this, right? Coming across here now at the 3 stars now, you can see why this is even better, because you're gaining the exact same thing, but even more. So here we're getting an additional 9% on the damage increase, but look at this. 6% extra damage reduction effect, and that's an additional one. So already from our stars, we've just gained 11% reduction, and that is obviously added into what our kit's already doing. So if we click on our Annihilation button here, you can see now we're doing a 40% increase in damage dealt, and we're reducing that 15%. Then you got that 30% damage when you're serving as commander. However, we're in second in command, and that is because then we're getting that additional 15% added troop damage taken. So you can see why 3 stars here, and this skill is so goddamn good. And when you 5-star this hero, it just makes it even more effective, because the decay is just better. It's instead of 30% of the stats that you're losing, it's only 25%, which is much better. Much better in every regard, because you get to keep more of the reduction over a longer period of time. So you can see why we are saying to you guys, run Timur. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video, right? All about Lubu testing, and mainly what's better, a 1-star Timur versus a 5-star Guan Yu. And now you know. Now you know. So if anyone tries to argue, you can say, look, I've seen Sneakyy's video, I've seen the test results, I've seen enough. I don't need to see anymore. And we can go from there. So until the next video, guys, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below what you'd like to see next. I do have a swarming test video, a Sun Tzu testing video, as well as Miyamoto testing as well, with Lagerfeld in there. So let me know what you fancy. We're going to do all 3 of them anyway, but I'd love to know which ones you'd see first, and we can obviously try and get that out for you guys. So until the next video, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys. Peace out.